I will not allow the anti-growth coalition to hold us back.
Thank you very much.
Not going anywhere. Climate change campaigners, just one of the many horsemen of the anti-growth coalition of the PM's imagining. Alongside unions, think tanks, podcasters, North Londoners, opposition MPs and, well, Liz Truss's very own party. Today, one of its MPs becoming the first to publicly say her time is up.
Can Liz Truss survive?
No, I think the game's up. And it's now a question as to how the succession is managed. We have got to a point now where the public interest and the party's interest and the country's interest now demand that we get on with this, and if it were done, it needs to be done now.
As the flames of rebellion spread, Jeremy Hunt spends his first weekend as Chancellor trying to put out fires, insisting he's not de facto leader, while dismantling Liz Truss's mini-budget even further.
Who's in charge? You or her?
Well, the Prime Minister's in charge.
This as the former Deputy Governor of the Bank of England warns the UK's status for lenders is now similar to that of Italy or Greece, with fears over how the UK might pay for an estimated £62 billion budget hole.
Was getting rid of Kwasi Kwarteng and putting Jeremy Hunt in place enough to stabilise the markets?
I think it was probably necessary, but certainly not sufficient. But what will really matter to the markets is the substance of the decisions that are taken in the next couple of weeks, and whether the medium-term fiscal plan that's published at the end of the month really hangs together.
So the jury is still out?
I think the jury is very much still out.
Sorry, $8 in.
And while the free markets put her mini-budget in the deep freeze, so too the leader of the free world, breaching protocol in an ice cream parlour to criticise an ally's ill-fated fiscal plan.
The idea of cutting taxes on the super wealthy at a time when, anyway, I just think, I disagree with the policy, but that's up to Great Britain to make that judgment, not me.
In whose gift those decisions really are now is unknown, but the markets open tomorrow and may well have something to say.
And you can see more of that interview with Crispin Blunt on The Andrew Neil Show right here on Channel 4, right after this bulletin. Well, Amelia Jen joins me now. Amelia, good to see you. Presumably there are others who share Crispin Blunt's views but are not expressing it in public.
Yes, and in fact, the behind-the-scenes language is a lot more vicious. I've been told the party is split between anger, contempt and pity. Now, the Conservative Party rulebook means that she can't be removed for a year, but MPs can and are sending in letters of no confidence to Sir Graham Brady, the chair of the 1922 committee. Yes, those letters are symbolic. No, they can't trigger a vote, but some are hoping that if enough of them go in, that will then give him the mandate to change the rules, or simply to say to Liz Truss, as he did with Theresa May and Boris Johnson, look, it's time to go. Now, this is still all in the realms of speculation. MPs are back in Parliament tomorrow. Sir Graham Brady will have had time to count those letters after his holiday, and the markets will have had their say. So perhaps we'll have more information then.
We'll be watching. Amelia, thanks very much. Well, earlier I spoke to the Conservative MP, Philip Dunn, and I began by asking whether he agrees with his colleague, Crispin Blunt, that it's time for Liz Truss to go.
What we need to do now is to make sure that we review the growth plan and put in place a medium-term fiscal plan, which he will announce in a couple of weeks, which provides reassurance to the market and to colleagues that the government has got a proper grip on its spending plans, its tax-raising plans, and can govern the country.
But that's a separate issue, isn't it? What about her? What about the Prime Minister, Liz Truss? Is it time for her to go?
Well, she's just appointed a new Chancellor of the Exchequer, who is widely respected in the party and in the country. And I think it's appropriate that he's given the time to work with the Prime Minister to put in place the kind of fiscal responsibility that the Conservatives are normally trusted with.
But what I'm not hearing from you is a full-throated endorsement of Liz Truss as Prime Minister.
No, I'm not calling for Liz Truss to go as Prime Minister, not at all today. What we're doing is talking about how the new Chancellor of the Exchequer can stabilise the position that the government has taken to seek to undertake the growth plans that the Prime Minister has, but to do so in a fiscally responsible way.
Why aren't you calling for her to go? Because a lot of your colleagues, in fact, almost every colleague I've spoken to privately has said it's over.
I think she's acted very decisively to appoint Jeremy Hunt as Chancellor of the Exchequer last Friday. Here we are on Sunday evening. It's time for him to do his job, get to grips with what's going on in the Treasury, and then explain that to Parliament in the proper way in 2 weeks' time.
The markets open in Asia in a few hours from now. There is speculation, there is fear that the verdict of the markets will be brutal yet again. If that is the case, does that make her position even weaker?
Well, the markets will do what they do. They will base their judgment on what the government is doing and saying. What the Prime Minister's done is to introduce a widely respected parliamentarian as Chancellor.
But
he's a businessman at his core. No, he's not the Prime Minister. He's delivering, working with the Prime Minister on ensuring that the fiscal plan has credibility, which the markets are crying out for.
When you have one of our closest allies, President Joe Biden of the United States, weighing in and basically saying that Trussonomics, is a bad idea, that the tax plans were a bad idea, which is incredibly unusual. We're in a very weak position, aren't we?
Now, I think we're actually in quite a strong position if you look at our comparisons internationally. Of course, debt has gone up right across the Western world as a result of COVID.
President Biden, sorry to interrupt,
problems.
President Biden is
Interest
weighing
rates
in.
in America are a percentage point ahead of what they are in the UK.
But the President of the United States is basically saying that, our government and our economic policy is not fit for purpose. And that's never happened before.
I think he's actually retracted what he said and said it's down to the British government to set its policy, not for him to tell us what policies we should be introducing. But there's no hiding the fact that the Democrats have a different view from the British Conservatives on tax policy.
Would she be Prime Minister by Christmas still?
I think the Prime Minister and the Chancellor are getting down to work out a credible fiscal plan to announce in 2 weeks' time, which will settle the markets.
Philip Dunn, thank you very much.